Hello students, myself Dr. Sandip, Assistant Professor of Department of Zoology, Barakpur Rashtraguru Surendranath College, and today I will be delivering talk on population ecology. This particular portion, population ecology, is part of your first semester syllabus, and the paper is ZOOA COR 02T. So let's start today's topic, population ecology. Let's move to the slides. So before starting population ecology, we need to know the levels of organization. What is that? So if you see the biological world starting from the microscopic level to macroscopic level, there are a variety of stages, that is levels. So these are called levels of organization. As you can see in this slide, levels of organization starts with the microscopic level, DNA. So DNA, you know, it's a biomolecule and it is a very microscopic level of these levels of organization. So DNA resides within nucleus, nucleus within a cell. A collection of cell is called tissue, and different tissues make the organ. A collection of organ is called system or organ system, and the whole organ system makes the organism or individual. A collection of individual is called population. Different populations make the community. Up to this, everything is biotic or biological. When abiotic component adds to this community, that is biotic component, the level is called ecosystem, and different ecosystem makes the landscape. Next stage is biome. Different kinds of landscape constitute the biome. As you know, there are about 10 biomes around the world, and these 10 biomes makes the biosphere or our Mother Earth. So this is from microscopic level to the macroscopic level, different levels of organization. In ecology, we will cover this portion, that is starting from population, community, ecosystem, landscape up to biome. Today's discussion is confined to this portion or this stage or this level, that is population. So first of all, what is population? Population is a group is a group of individuals, all of the same species that live in the same place, or it may be defined as the collection of individuals or assemblage of individuals. According to N.J. Gotelli, in his book A Primer of Ecology, although it is sometimes difficult to define the physical boundaries of a population, the individuals within a population have the potential to reproduce with one another during the course of their lifetime. A subsection of population ecology that deals with the statistical study of human population is called demography, and everything related to demography is called demographical graph, demographical projection, like that. So you should remember this term demography, that is, it means it is related to human population. So each and every population has got few characteristics or features or attributes. It is also called the attributes of a population. So these characteristics of any population is unique to that population. What are they? Number one, population size and density. Next, population dispersion or distribution. Number 3, age structure of a population. Number 4, survivorship curve of a population. And number 5, population dynamics. So I will discuss each and every characteristic in detail. So let's start with population size and population density. First of all, population size. Population size is nothing but the total number of individuals in a population. It is generally denoted by the term capital N, the letter capital N. And what is population density? Population density is the number of individuals of a population per unit area. Say in an area of 10 square kilometer, there are 200 individuals. So per square kilometer, how many individuals are there? 200 by 10, that is 20 individuals per square kilometer is the density of population in that place. So if we consider a population with n number of individuals is distributed in an area of a unit square or a square unit, then the population density is capital N by capital A. Population size and population density is not always same, because population in case of population density, area is considered. So it is not true that when population size increases, population density will also increase, or if population size decreases, the density will also decrease. This is absolutely not true. Let's see in detail. If you search in internet with the term population size of countries world ranking, you will find this kind of table or chart, where according to population size, China is placed in number 1, India number 2, United States number 3, and so on. Here you will see India at number 2 and Bangladesh at number 8. But if you search the population density of countries world ranking, you will find population according to population density, Bangladesh is placed at number 11, whereas India at number 33. So in terms of population size, India is ahead of Bangladesh, whereas in terms of population density, Bangladesh is ahead of us, that is India. And that is also true for this comparison. Population of Russia and population of Bangladesh. As you can see, population of Russia is 143 million and population of Bangladesh is 156 million. but if you consider the area of these two countries and compare, this is the area of Russia and this small green portion is Bangladesh. So compared to area, Russia is huge whereas Bangladesh is tiny. So if you divide this 143 million with this huge area, you will get the population density very less. Whereas if you divide 156 million with this small area, the density will be huge, and that is why according to population density, if you consider Bangladesh, it is placed at 11 as I have said before, and Russia is ranked 2 to 3, that is the last one in terms of population density. So this is the relationship between population size and population density. Next, population dispersion. Population dispersion can be defined as the distribution of individual in certain area or certain space. So if I consider these green dots as a single individual, population dispersion can be of three types: clumped, uniform and random. In case of clump distribution, the individuals are aggregated in some place. You can see here few individuals are there, few individuals are here, and the other portions there are no individuals. So clump distribution is the most common type of distribution you can find in nature. Why? Because in nature resources are distributed clumped wise. Resources are not at all uniform all through. So as the resources distributed clumped wise, individuals totally depend on the resources. So as the resources are distributed patch wise or clumped wise, that is why individuals also show this type of clump distribution. Next one is uniform distribution, where individuals are almost equispaced from each other. In this case, this is the not very common, but you can find few examples of this uniform kind of distribution or dispersion. Here I can tell you one artificial example in agricultural fields where paddy plants are planted equidistant from each other, right? And if you ask me that to tell you some natural example, there are certain plants like eucalyptus and there are a few plants, they secrete some toxic chemicals from their roots. So such that no other seeds get germinated in say 10-meter radius of the plant. So if it is a plant and it secretes chemical, and this is the 10-meter radius in which there will be no plant. So the plant can grow outside the 10-meter radius, say here or here, and this plant also doing the same. 10-meter radius, there are no plants, outside that 10-meter radius you can find plants. So this phenomenon is called allelopathy. If plants show this kind of allelopathy, in those plants this type of distribution can be found. And the last one is the random distribution. Random distribution you will find randomly. If I ask students, they among these three which one is the most common type of distribution, most of the students, say 90% of the student say the random distribution can be found in nature, but it is not actually true. Random distribution is the theoretical distribution. It cannot be found in nature. Why? Because in this case resource is so plenty, so uniformly distributed that each and every individual can be found everywhere. The probability to find a particular individual can be everywhere. So, it is not actually possible. Nature is not so resourceful that resource will be distributed uniformly everywhere. That is why random distribution cannot be found in nature, especially in the large places. It cannot be found. So, it is the theoretical one. These are the three types of population dispersion or distribution. So, this is the statistical or mathematical expressions of population dispersion. Population dispersion is expressed as variance by mean. So, in case 1, if there is a variance is greater than mean, then the dispersion will be greater than 1 and the distribution will be of clump type. If mean is greater than variance, then dispersion will be less than 1 and the distribution will be regular or uniform. And in last case, if variance equals to mean, the probability of which is very less, which is not possible actually. So, the dispersion will be equals to 1 and the distribution will be of random type. Next, move on to the next slide and next characteristics, that is age structure. So, age structure you will find in your 11th or 12th school syllabus. You will find this kind of triangular shaped pictures where in population ecology you will find this kind of structures which are called age structures. So, age structures you need to know how age structure, these kind of graphs are formed, are constructed. So, it is not written in any books, but you need to know. So, for this let us come to the blackboard. For age structure graph, there is one y axis and the x axis is extended, so that the y axis in the middle of the x axis. So, there is age along the x axis and along the y axis, and the one part of x axis shows the number of males and the other part shows the number of females. It can be vice versa as well. So, this is age is increasing upwards. So, this is the 0 age. So, birth is taking place at this place, and this is the, for human population, say it is 100 years. So, 0 to 100 years, there are all ages, all age groups are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 50, 60, 70, 90 up to 100. So, now if I say let us collect the data of a population of each age group. A population consists of different age groups, right. So, you will find the birth is taking place, the children of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You will find the individuals of adolescent period 15, 16, 17, 18 like that, and of all age groups 30, 40, 50, 60 whatever, old men, everyone. So, now after collecting data, now I say give me the data of the 0 years, that is the birth taking place right now. So, you gave me the data there will be males, there will be females, and in human population we know that around the ratio of male female is 50-50, right. So, this is the horizontal bar diagram of males and this is that of females. Now, the age group with 1 year of age, 2 and so on, you will get this kind of graph, right. And you will see as you are moving upward, the number of individuals, that is number of males and number of females, are decreasing, right. Why it happens? Because as the age increases, the probability of mortality also increases. So, say there are huge number of births occurred, say here it is 500 and female around 497. In the next age group you will find it is 485, here it may be 470, like that, and it will decrease because with age the probability of mortality increases. There are different factors due to disease, due to accidents, due to suicidal activities, the population decreases, and there you will get very few old men or women in a population, right, at the top. How there are very few individuals in a population with age 90 to 100, right. So, if you connect these bar diagrams, the apex of this bar diagram, you will get this kind of pyramid shaped or triangular shaped structure, and this is the age structure. How those graphs in the slides is formed. This is the concept and this is the basis how our age structure is constructed. Now, let us move on to the slides again. As you can see, there are different kinds of age structure graphs are here, and there you can find there are 3 colored regions: red, yellow and blue. So, in human population and all the populations, age structures by age groups can be divided into 3 types or 3 parts. Initial red portion is called pre-reproductive stage, yellow portion is called reproductive stage, and blue portion is called post-reproductive stage. In case of human population, the pre-reproductive stage is 0 to 14 years, reproductive stage 15 to 44, and post-reproductive stage 45 and beyond is post-reproductive age. So, as you can see, this is the y axis, this is the number of males, number of females, and if you find this kind of triangular shaped graph, that means the whole population is expanding rapidly due to this steepness of the curve. And the examples of countries that are expanding rapidly like Guatemala, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, etc. In this type of graph, age structure graph means the population is expanding slowly. As you can see, the base is not like this one, the base is narrow, and the examples are United States, Australia, China follows this kind of age structure graph. If you see this bell shaped graph, that means the population is stable, it is not increasing very much and not declining as well. So, it is kind of stable. The examples are countries like Japan, Italy, Greece. And if you find this kind of a structured graph, it is also called urn shaped, URN, urn shaped. Then the population is declining. As you can see, in this case, pre-reproductive and reproductive portion is very narrow, whereas post-reproductive area is much wider. So, in this kind of population, the population is declining day by day or with time. So, this is all about age structure graphs. Next character, survivorship. What is survivorship? First of all, you need to know what are survivors. Survivors means that the living portion, the individuals that are living, that means survivors. So, in survivorship curve, it is also represented by a graph where the x axis is age or age group or percentage of lifespan, and y axis is the number of survivors. There are three types of ideal graphs or curves can be found in case of survivorship. This one, type 1, it is also called the highly convex survivorship curve. Next, type 2 or diagonal type of survivorship curve, and type 3 or highly concave survivorship curve. So, what are the characteristics of these curves? Let us consider the type 3. This is the type 3 curve. Age is increasing from left to right. So, the population started say with 1000 individuals, number of survivors 1000, and in first few years there is a sharp decline in the number of survivors. That means mortality is very high. So, in this type 3 survivorship curve, the mortality is very high at early stage of life. Those individuals survived up to this age, they goes up to the end of the life. Next, the opposite of type 3, that is type 1. In case of type 1 survivorship curve, this one, the population start say with the same number, that is 1000 individuals, and there is a no sharp decline. That means mortality is very, very low, and ultimately the population declines, that is number of survivors declines with age, which is natural. There is natural death to each and every individual, each and every population. So, in type 1 there is no such high mortality at early stage of life like that of type 3. So, there is very, very low mortality at early stage of life, and if any population follows this type of survivorship curve, it is called type 1 survivorship curve. So, those population that follow type 1 survivorship curve, they are called K selected species, capital K, and those populations follow type 3 survivorship curve, they are called R selected species, small r. There is a difference between these two populations, K selected species and R selected species. Please note down the difference between these two. First of all, R selected species. Point number 1, high birth rate, whereas in case of case selected species, low birth rate. Point number 2, high mortality at early stage of life, whereas in case of K, very low mortality at early stage of life. Point number 3, low parental care, in case selected species, high parental care. Point number 4, in case of R selected species, the body size of the animal is very small. There are exceptions, but generally the body size is small, whereas in case selected species they possess larger body size. Point number 5, generally shorter lifespan in case of R selected species, whereas in case selected species the lifespan is longer. So, these are the 5 major differences between case selected species and R selected species, that is those species that follow type 1 survivorship curve and those species that follow type 3 survivorship curve. And there is remaining type, that is type 2 survivorship curve. In this case the mortality rate is similar all through the lifespan. So, as you can see, that is why it is a straight line where lifespan mortality decreases homogeneously with time. Now, note down the examples. Type 1 example is lower group of animals, mostly invertebrates. Type 1 survivorship curve example is higher group of animals, mostly vertebrates, especially mammals. Next, type 3, lower group of animals, mostly invertebrates and fishes. And the example of type 2, there are very few examples of type 2 like hydra, turtles, few species of birds and most of the plants, perennial plants are the example of type 2 survivorship curve. So, this is all about survivorship curve. Let's move on to the next slide. And the most important one, that is population dynamics. What is population dynamics? If you consider any population with certain size, population size always changes with time. Most of the time it increases, it may also decrease, right. So, population dynamics means how the population size changes over time. So, this dynamics, this change is controlled by 4 parameters. Number 1, births actually adds to the population. Number of deaths minus from the population. Immigration, addition of certain individual from different population to this population, that is addition, and emigration, when from this population certain individuals moves away. So, these are the 4 parameters, pluses and minuses, by which population size can be controlled. From this schematic diagram you can understand this is the number of birds. Actually, in ecology, in statistical analysis, everything is expressed in terms of rate. So, birth rate is called natality, which is denoted by small b. This is the addition to this population size with n, number of individuals. Immigration also adds up to this population. Death rate is called mortality, which is denoted by small d. that is minus from the population, and as well as emigration, it is also the minus from the population. So, for simplicity we will consider only these two parameters, that is natality and mortality. So, when B is greater than D, that is natality is greater than mortality, the population increases in size, simple. And when B is less than D, that is mortality is higher than natality, the population decreases in size, and that is how the population size changes over time. So, in your syllabus mainly population growth is considered, not population decline. So, we will study all about the population growths. So, there are two types of growths that can be observed in a population. And they are denoted by population growth curves. There are two types of growth curves. This one is exponential growth curve and this is logistic growth curve. Exponential growth curve is also called geometric growth curve or J-shaped curve. Why J-shaped? Because this blue line, that is the curve, looks like the English letter alphabet J. So, in this type of graph, it is there is a x-axis, there is a y-axis obviously, and the x-axis denotes the time and y-axis population size or density. So, in case of exponential growth curve, you can see this population is ever increasing with time, it is increasing continuously. And conversely, in case of logistic growth, the population initially it grows and after time interval, certain time interval, the population gets stabilized. Where the population stabilizes, that region at y-axis is called carrying capacity. So, carrying capacity is present in case of logistic growth curve only, it is not incorporated in exponential growth curve. So, we know that each and every graphical representation is the expression of certain equations, right. So, each and every graph has its own equation. So, let us consider the exponential growth curve. Exponential growth curve is denoted or expressed by the equation, this one, exponential growth equation, dn by dt equals to r into n. So, what does it mean? So, let us clarify in the blackboard. Let us consider a population initially is at n1, after few times it becomes n2. Initially it was n1 and then it becomes n2. Say when it was in n1 the time was t1 and when it was in n2 the time is t2. So, what is the difference? Difference is denoted by n2 minus n1. Let us consider it is dn, difference of n or differential n. Similarly, T2 minus T1 is dt. So, in this time interval dt, the population increased by dn, right. So, what is the population growth rate? So, when we calculate rate, it is actually the number is divided by the time. So, the population growth rate is dn by dt. It has been found that dn by dt is directly proportional to the number of individuals present in a particular time. This concept is very simple. If you have many individuals, there will be more growth. If you have few individuals, there will be less growth. So, dn by dt, that is population growth rate, is directly proportional to the number of individuals present in a particular time. So, mathematically we need to take few constant to equate this equation, this disproportionate equation to equate certain constant c into n. It has been found that this constant is similar to the r value, small r. What is that r? R is called intrinsic rate of growth, and it is equals to b minus d. What is b minus d? You have already learned that b is the natality, d is the mortality. So, difference in natality and mortality is the intrinsic rate of growth, that is r. So, the equation becomes dn by dt equals to r into n. This is the exponential equation for the exponential growth curve. Let us move on to the slides. In case of logistic growth curve, the equation is dn by dt equals to r into n into 1 minus n by k or k minus n by k. So, here another term capital K is incorporated. Capital K is nothing but the carrying capacity, this point. This is the carrying capacity. What is carrying capacity? Carrying capacity is the number of individuals that can be supported by the available resource in a particular area. That is called carrying capacity. What is the basic difference between these two graphs, exponential and logistic? In case of exponential growth, the resource is unlimited, whereas in case of logistic growth, the resource is limited, right. So, as the resource is limited, there is a carrying capacity, there is a maximum number of individuals that can be supported by that limited resource. So, as the population increases, the population growth decreases, and ultimately the population growth becomes 0. So, as you can see, this is initially the population growth rate is low. At this stage, population growth rate is almost exponential, increases very fastly, and then as it gets close to the carrying capacity, the growth rate decreases, and when it reaches carrying capacity, the growth rate, this curve becomes parallel to x axis, and when the curve gets parallel to x axis, that means the slope is 0. So, here the slope is the dn dt curve, and that means there is no growth of the population, and the population gets stabilized at carrying capacity. And these two graphs are represented by these two growth equations, remember very carefully dn by dt equals to r into n for exponential growth equation, and that is for logistic growth equation it is dn by dt equals to r into n into 1 minus n by k. So, that is all for today, and this is everything about population ecology, which is the basic part of the ecology. Next we will move on to the community ecology in my next class, and thank you for your patient hearing.